Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to have a look at the latest from the live radar, run through the UK Met Office weather warnings, as we do have numerous thunderstorm warnings issued over the next few days for Sunday and Monday, especially further westwards, as we are going to see some quite intense storms where this warmth and heat that we've seen building over the past 5-6 days does finally start to break down. We'll be able to have a look at the specifics of this on the latest UKV and on the Ciaran run as well, which is a high resolution run, which in my opinion is one of the best for thunderstorms especially. And then we'll have a look at the longer range, as it is looking like it's going to be turning a lot more unsettled next week, with lots of areas of rain and showers around. Nothing too crazy in terms of thunderstorms after Sunday and Monday, as we do start to see that energy drop, but still could be fairly lively in places. And there are tentative signs as we head around that sort of 20th of May, pointing into the final third or so of the month, we could see high pressure return. It is tentative signs at the extended range of the model runs, but it is at least a positive today that we're starting to see some of those runs moving away from unsettled conditions in the longer term, and it will allow us to pinpoint how long the unsettled spell starting in the next couple of days is going to last. So do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now, if you start on the live radar, another bone dry day today, very warm and sunny, temperatures even higher today, and we'll check those top temperatures out on net weather in a minute. We did have a forecast of some thunderstorms developing across southern parts of Scotland. No warning issued, but it had been cropping up in the UKV of the past couple of days, and now this morning's UKV, which we'll have a look at them in a minute, has almost disregarded them, gone to really reduce them in terms of their size and intensity. And you can see in reality we're really not seeing much. So it does look like they were overdoing it a couple of days ago, and now we're really not seeing much going on. To be honest, looking at it synoptically, I don't know why there would be many thunderstorms in this area, simply because we are still under higher pressure. Yes, pop-up storms are possible, but there really wasn't any major indication of it on the synoptic pattern, i.e. the pressure wasn't dropping all too much. No weather front around, no sudden increase in the upper air temperatures. So again, I'm uncertain why there was those thunderstorms on the models a couple of days ago and even yesterday, but you can see in reality not seeing a lot. However, into tomorrow we are definitely going to be seeing storms around, as we do start to see some very unstable conditions move in. Now, if you saw last night, we did see clear skies, and it's been widely reported in the news that we saw an aurora last night, the aurora borealis, which is the northern lights, getting all the way down towards southern England. Now, seeing the northern lights in the UK isn't actually too unusual. It's actually, we see it quite often in Scotland, but seeing all the way down to southern England, where we've got increased light pollution from more towns and cities, it is very unusual, and it's because of the strength of the geomagnetic storm we're seeing. Now, I'm no expert on space weather specifically, so again, I'm not going to bore you trying to explain what's going on, but I will simply say we're going to see another clear night tonight, and there's the chance that you could see the aurora once again later on this evening. Around that 10-11 p.m. point is best. I even saw it. It did take sort of a camera, increase exposure to see it. Where I am, there's quite a lot of light pollution around. But if you are in the countryside, or if you have got the ability to go to the countryside, then I definitely would recommend that if you are interested in seeing this, as it's likely again to reach southern England. Again, there are ups and downs potentially in the strength, but from the looks of it at the moment, there is a high chance we see another aurora northern lights tonight. So do check that out, as we do have another night of clear skies. Could see a bit of cloud popping up here or there, but another stunning evening. Now, along with the clear skies, we've seen very warm conditions throughout today. Temperatures this afternoon widely up towards the mid-20s. You can see, though, there's some blues across northeast England into East Anglia, and this is the effect of a bit of low cloud and a sea breeze. You can see very regional conditions, especially this time of year. Cold sea surface temperatures across the North Sea. Warm conditions, a bit of moisture being picked up from the North Sea. We're seeing some thick cloud and generally cooler conditions here. So you see temperatures go from around 12-13 degrees up towards the mid-20s in a space of 10 or 20 miles. So unfortunately, if you're on these areas, specifically Yorkshire and East Anglia, I'm sorry, it's been a poor day here, but most other areas it's been stunning. And you can see top temperatures in sort of central and western England up towards that 25-26 degree mark today, even into the central belt of Scotland. Look at this, towards Glasgow, very warm as well. And if we go to net weather, you can see the top temperatures, recording this in the early evening, so these should be the top temperatures for today, around that 2 to 4 p.m. point for most. And you see widely, we're looking at 23 to 25, and you can see just getting up to 26 degrees there. Again, this doesn't cover every single weather station, but it does cover the majority, and you can see very warm and very stunning all the way up and down the country. You see Glasgow there, and you can also see Southampton, so all the way up towards Scotland and all the way down towards the south coast. Stunning this afternoon, and it could be as warm if not warmer tomorrow, except for the fact of those thunderstorms starting to take off. Now, if you do talk about those thunderstorms, these are the latest weather warnings. Let me just refresh that. It does look like it's a bit skewed to one side. You can see we've now got more thunderstorm warnings issued for Sunday here. We've got this Northern Ireland warning. Hasn't been updated from yesterday, so we won't go into it in detail. But again, heavy thunderstorms and showers from 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. We've got this more widespread warning across much of southwest England, western England in general, much of Wales into northwest England from midday until 10 p.m. Again, hasn't been updated since yesterday, but heavy showers and thunderstorms could lead to some disruption. And then another warning for much of western Scotland, which has just come into force today, 2 p.m. until 4 a.m. So you can see the further southwards you are, the earlier in the day, and the further westwards, and then slowly northwards and eastwards, those storms will move mostly northwards, but gradually eastwards. So if you're on the far west of these warning zones, perhaps early in the day. If you're the far north or east of these warning zones, then most likely it will be later in the afternoon through the evening. Here again, you can see 20 to 30 millimeters in less than an hour, maybe 30 to 50 millimeters over a few hours, and again it's medium impact, low likelihood or very low likelihood. So the same impact matrix for all these areas, which is basically essentially saying there's a low chance you get hit by a storm, but if you do, it could be pretty severe indeed, as they are going to be pop-up storms, could form into lines later in the evening, as we'll see in a minute. So I would just watch out for that. And you see that warning into Scotland does move into Monday as well, where most likely they will be dying out, but still could last into the morning. Now, do look at the latest UKV now. This is the earlier run from this morning. And you can see it still does have a few showers popping off across southern Scotland, but nowhere near as intense as we were seeing over the past few days. As we head into this evening, though, another pretty dry and sunny, clear night. You can see a bit of cloud developing in places, high-level cloud. Again, that could cause issues with viewing the aurora, but for most, it's another stunning evening. Warm night, but then look out to the west, showers start to push in, and then around the midday to 1 p.m. point, we start to see thunderstorms popping off. Initially, pulse storms, where we see them sort of single-celled, then they could form more into lines and areas and clusters of storms through the mid-afternoon into the evening, especially as they head further northwards here. And you can see eventually overnight, around that 7-8 p.m. point, they start to lose their intensity. Still heavy rain, still potential for lightning, but you can see the dark reds dissipate more into oranges, yellows and greens as we head overnight, and they slowly move away. And then into Monday, it's a dry start for most, but as we head into the afternoon and evening, we start to see heavy rain spiraling up from the south, and gives quite a soggy Monday into Tuesday. And this is because we see a low pressure system parked to our south, just throwing lots of areas of showers and rain through Tuesday and Wednesday. Still a lot of uncertainty about the shower activity from Wednesday and for Wednesday and Thursday, as it will all depend on the positioning of the low and the exact wind direction. But you can see here quite a widespread shower risk through Wednesday, and it will most likely be the same into Thursday. Now, if you look at the upper temperature, you can see it's very warm at the moment, and it will continue to be very warm into tomorrow. The upper temperatures could even peak tomorrow, and that's why we don't see thunderstorms. It could be much warmer than today. It could be 27 or 28. You can see, though, as we head into Monday, we do see that very warm air get swept away. It doesn't get entirely swept away, so we could still see warm conditions from Monday to Wednesday. It's still above average, but it's not quite as above average, and with lower pressure, more cloud showers, the temperatures are more likely hovering around the 20-degree mark instead of the mid-20s like we're seeing at the moment. If you go over to the max temperatures now, you can see over this afternoon, look at that widely low to mid-20s, actually slightly higher here than in reality than we've seen on the UKV. So again, to take that into note for tomorrow. So it's showing 23, 24 here. We've actually seen 25, 26. If we look at the top temperatures for tomorrow afternoon, UKV is showing 25 or 26. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a 27 or a 28 in some areas. And you can see it slowly dissipates through the evening, especially where we have those thunderstorms and a very warm night, maybe in the high teens for some, before eventually into Monday, temperatures actually slightly higher than we were showing yesterday, maybe 22 or 23 where we avoid the rain, so still could be warm, but most it is cooling down. And into Tuesday, many areas struggling to get above the mid to high teens, so much cooler into Tuesday, and the same could be said for Wednesday. Still maybe nudging 18 to 21, so pretty warm, pretty pleasant, but not quite as warm as it's been this week. So definitely looks like the models have slightly corrected those temperatures up in the past day. We were more seeing mid to high teens yesterday, which isn't cold, but is cooler than it is now, back towards average, where actually we're starting to see them nudge slightly more above average here. So that's most likely due to a slight shift in those upper air temperatures. But I will emphasize, if we see rain, if we see cloud, it won't feel like 20 degrees if that does blow in. So we'll have to keep a close eye on that over the next few days. Now finally, from the precipitation perspective, if we do have a look at the latest Aurora convective overview, this shows the precipitation rate and the Cape throughout the next 36 hours or so. You can see very little activity at the moment, but as we head into tomorrow morning, we start to see thunderstorms arriving in the west, and you can see these areas of purple. These are where there are enhanced levels of Cape, and you can see it mainly in the west, pushing northwards and giving quite widespread substantial storms into the evening. So it could be very lively indeed. Unfortunately, we can't go much beyond that. Let me just refresh it, see if that updates. No, unfortunately, we can't go much beyond that. Actually, the midday run has just come out. Oh yeah, so we can have a look at the midday run here, and you can see really quite extensive storm activity. Actually, very interestingly, look in the east. This is something that's popped up on this Arome run. Some storms potentially moving into East Anglia, maybe in towards London as well. So a bit more of a widespread storm risk from this Arome run for Sunday afternoon. But you can see very lively around that sort of 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. point, for dissipating quite quickly around 7, 8 p.m. into nothingness. And then we start to see general heavy rain moving in from the west. So it could be a very lively afternoon, especially in the west. You can see it lining up here through parts of the Midlands into southern England. So really do keep an eye out for this, as it could be said very lively indeed. Now, if you do look at the longer range now, start on the latest GFS. Again, you can see the low pressure pushing in over the coming days, giving us unsettled conditions into next week. Plenty of showers around. But as I said, in that medium to longer range, tentative signs that we could see an improvement. A bit of a northerly flow here, but eventually high pressure pushes back in. And although we're not seeing a sort of direct southerly here, we're seeing similar air masses that we've got at the moment pushing in, turning us much warmer and drier. We zoom in, we can actually see the temperatures once again in towards the mid-20s. So actually, even though the medium range, the next sort of 5 to 10 days do look pretty poor, beyond that, 10 days and beyond, start to see some improvements here, especially from the GFS. So that's positive signs for that final week to 10 days of May. It's still too far away to make any real assertions, but definitely looking a lot more positive than a few days ago. If you compare to the GM, very similar pressure pushing in at the moment, high pressure trying to return into next week, and similar to day 10, we do see some brief high pressure pushing in, but you can see cool air, Atlantic flow is trying to make a return. It's difficult to say at this day 10 point what would win out. Would we see that low pressure win out from the west, or would we see the high pressure continue to control? It's a bit of a 50-50 here, but still, it doesn't look too bad actually at day 10, all things said and done. If you compare to the east of the finally, again low pressure pushing in over the next couple of days, dominating through much of the week, and then high pressure slowly building in towards day 10, and similar to the GM, but the high pressure is slightly more dominant, and that low pressure is further west out in the Atlantic, which means that yes, this is as positive as the GM, if not more positive, with relatively warm upper air temperatures and relatively high pressure. If we look at the 2 meter temperatures, you can see through the afternoon, in around a week's time, we're looking at high teens, maybe into the low 20s, probably underdoing those temperatures a little bit because of the lower resolution and because it is midday predictions here, so likely into the low 20s, but actually looking a lot more positive, because if we do put on the precipitation, a few odd showers around, but actually doesn't look too bad. Lots of showers this upcoming week, but then as we into next weekend, could die out again, as high pressure could be building back in. Now, to finish by looking at the latest ensembles, latest GFS ensembles are just coming out. You can see substantive precipitation over the course of the next week or so, starting through tomorrow. And you see upper air temperatures dropping back down to average, but maybe staying slightly above average. You can see, though, as we're drawing around that 20th of May point, the precipitation doesn't go to zero, but it does die off a little bit. We don't see a massive increase, so there's tentative signs, again, of maybe something dry building in. Temperatures next week, widely mid to high teens, maybe touching 20 degrees on drier days, so not too bad for what we'd expect this time of year, but not as good as it's been this week. If you look at the sea level pressure, you can see big dip in the next couple of days and then rises into the longer term again, continuing that narrative of high pressure making a return towards that final 10 days of May. Again, good signs for something drier and warmer. And finally, if we compare to the ECMWF, very similar in this precipitation and upper air temperature chart. Still higher precipitation in the longer term, so maybe not quite as sure on higher pressure building in, but on the upper air temperatures, looking average to a degree or two above average. And again, sea level pressure, big drop, and then a bit of a rise, but not quite a substantive rise there, so I have to keep a close eye on that. So turning a lot more lively in the next couple of days. Still could be very warm in places, but we're likely to see some big storms triggering tomorrow. So do stay safe out there. Do keep an eye on those warnings. But I'll see you again for another video soon.